Hey everyone, Cheoff Geoff here. Welcome to my kitchen. If you're new to the channel, don't forget the old subscribe button, like, share, etc. I'll also be posting the recipe in my fancy new website. I'll put the link for the downloadable recipe card in my dialog box when this is ready to roll. All right, so if you want to think like a chef, you've got to find easy and classical preparation techniques to make cheap cuts of meat taste delicious and flavorful and moist and so forth. So with that in mind, I've got some super duper cheap boneless pork chops here, and they cost me $3.50 at the grocery store. And it's not the most exciting cut of meat, but we're gonna use some proper classical preparation techniques to make these things super flavorful. So today I'm gonna teach you guys how to brine these pork chops. So usually a brine is with water, but today you guys have probably seen over the last little while that I like to use booze, and so instead of that, we're gonna have some local cider in here. So, well, let's get started. All right, so we're gonna start building our brine here. So what a brine is gonna do is lock in moisture. So we've got some of this beautiful cider that I was talking about. It's about 5% alcohol. We're only using about 2/3 of a can. And what we're doing here is we're gonna dissolve all of our liquids. So this is a little bit of ACV in here. We got 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Unos dos. There we are. 2 tablespoons of salt. 1 tablespoon of refined sugar. We're just gonna get this all working together here. So as I was saying, what we're trying to do with this brine is, especially with cheaper cuts of meats that don't have a whole lot of fat content, like these pork chops, for example, they can, when they're cooked, and all the moisture will basically escape while it's cooking. So what we're gonna do is, this brine is gonna help lock in some flavor, it'll help lock in a little bit of moisture, and all those molecules that break down, that release all that liquid will be basically replaced by this flavorful brine throughout that cooking process. So as this continues to bring, I got the ovens ready to go for my apple fig jam, which we'll go through shortly. We've got some aromatics we're going to throw in, some fresh rosemary. We got a smashed piece of garlic, some peppercorns, and a bay leaf. Okay. And last but not least, just a little bit of maple syrup. 2 tablespoons in there. That's more than 2 tablespoons, but that's all right. Great, so we're just gonna let this come to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, we're gonna simmer it. Let it simmer for about 5 minutes. And we're gonna pour it over ice, chill it, and we'll submerge our pork chops in there. I'm just gonna give this thing a little taste. So whenever you're building these kind of brines, you do want to make sure you've got the flavor profile that you're looking for. So what I'm trying to get in here is that the sweetness from the maple syrup, the acidity from the cider, and that aromatic flavor from all the aromatics and the fresh rosemary, which is really starting to come out now as we start to get it boiling. That's going to be really tasty. All right, perfect. All right, take a look at that brine. It's all come together now. All the liquids have been dissolved with sugars and so forth. You got a really good aromatic smell coming out of things. You got the licorice coming from the star anise. You've got the garlic flavor. You have your fresh rosemary plus the boozy flavor. So this has been boiling for about 5 minutes. Now I'm just going to pour this over some ice, and this will help cut all the salt flavor, and it'll cool things quickly. And in about 10 minutes, we'll be ready to brine our super cheap pork chops. But in the meantime, that's going to give us a little bit of time to build an apple fig roasted chutney. And this is a really perfect classical complement to go with pork chops. As apple and pork go together, this is just kind of an upmarket version of it. So some real kind of simple ingredients. What we're going to do is we're going to make a mixture first, and then we'll cut everything together. So still got some booze left over here, so we're going to pour in the rest of that cider. And this will help coat everything. We're going to add just a little bit of, this is about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. I'm going to throw in the rest of this brown sugar, just about a tablespoon or so. I got a little spice blend of teaspoon of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Oh, reaching over there. A little bit of salt and just a touch of pepper, just to get that rolling. Actually, add a little bit more salt. I'm gonna whisk this baby all together. And this is just basically a coating for our apples and figs. So I've got my my oven set for 425. We're gonna get all our ingredients cut together. We're gonna roast it off, and then we'll blend it in our food processor. So I just got one apple, really simple, and we're just gonna peel it all off. And if you have a little bit of skin left over, no big deal. I tend to use Granny Smith green apples, but I couldn't get any this time, so this is an ambrosia. It'll be a little bit sweeter, but if you can get Granny Smith's, it'll have that sweet, that little tartness to complement the figs. We're gonna cut it right in half, and cut these into quarters, and basically just work along the core. Cut the edge off there. There we go. And this is almost like an apple pie filling that we're gonna be building. So it's kind of like fancy schmancy applesauce. And it's a very, very versatile jam. So you can have this with your toast. It's great on sandwiches. With the cut sizes for this, because it's only one, we're just gonna roast off. Just gonna cut them a little thin, but not crazy thin. Great, so we got some black fig mission figs, excuse me. We're just gonna remove these are fresh figs, so you can also use dried figs as well. And we're just cutting them in half like that. And they look so pretty once you got the cross section in there. Actually, I might quarter them. There we go. Great. So the more I think about this recipe, the more I think this is, for us, this is the May 2-4 long weekend, Victoria Day. And, theoretically the weather should be nice. So this is perfect barbecue, like long weekend food. And I think if you just give yourself a little bit of time, you're gonna get yourself just a delicious barbecue long weekend recipe right here. All right, great. So I've got about 8 mission figs in here. I've got all my mixture, and I'm just gonna kind of mix it all together. And we're gonna throw this baby in the oven. Like I said, 425 for about 20 minutes on a parchment-lined baking sheet. This looks like a lot of liquid, so what I might do is reserve some of it so I can use this to loosen up the mixture as I'm blending it. Probably the way to go. You just want to make sure everything is kind of evenly dispersed on this so they're not sitting on top of each other, etc. That's a core. We're going to get rid of you. Perfect. A lot of that. In the oven we go. Okay. So when you are brining something, you got to make sure that you're completely submerging your whatever it is that you're using here. I'm just going to pour this brine over and kind of keep out the. There we go. Perfect. So you just want to make sure they're totally submerged, and these will you cover them, put them in the fridge for 24 hours, and over that time period, the meat is going to absorb the flavor, and it's also the salt and everything will help the moisture get locked in, and in 24 hours you're going to have a really nice smelling pork chop ready to be cooked up. Oh my God, guys! I got to tell you, it smells just amazing in here. You've got some really nice caramelization that has happened over this roasting process. All those aromatics that we put in here, you've got some cinnamon, some nutmeg. It's really starting to come through. And so what I've got here is this has been we're about 25 minutes into the future, and this has been roasted for about, 25 minutes, like I said. We don't want the apples to be completely like mush. We want to have, they still have a little bit of firmness to them, and that's exactly what we want, because you want to have a bit of texture when you're building this jam. So basically everything is going to go in the food processor, and the trick here is that you don't want to blend it to the point where it's just a total smooth paste. You want to maintain the texture of the apples, because you're going to get that kind of mushy flavor or texture, pardon me, from the figs. Still got a little bit of that mixture left over, so I'm going to pour just a touch in there to help loosen it up. And we're just gonna blend this baby up. All right. Oh, perfect, here we are. So as you can see, it's still got some body. You still have chunks of roasted apple in there. And it just looks super rustic, and all the seeds have really broken down from the figs and everything like that. I'm just gonna give it a taste and make sure she's okay. That's primo, guys. This is gonna be a really nice complement to the pork chops. This is gonna add a little bit of sweetness. You're gonna get that texture and crunch from the seeds in the figs. And I'm really happy how this turned out. So we got 24 hours. We got our pork chops brining in the fridge. And I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow. All right, we're 24 hours into the future here, and welcome to my first voiceover. So like, that's really, really exciting for me, and I'm a little bit scared to do this properly. All right, so what I'm trying to explain to everyone here is I've patted dry the chops from all the brine and so forth. I've just let them come to room temperature. I've got a little bit of steak spice. I've got my grill set to 450 degrees. Open it up, and surprise, I've got some Cajun grilled corn in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw them on the grill. And the whole idea with these chops is once they go on the grill, you don't want to agitate them or anything like that. As you can see, I'm yelling into the wind saying, it's really, really windy out there. But all that being said, really the important thing with pork when you're cooking it is you don't have to really worry about trichinosis anymore or anything like that. The pork industry is so highly regulated that cleanliness of the facilities and all that stuff, you got nothing to worry about. So if you're cooking these things, cook it to 140 degrees. That's your primo temperature, and you're good to go. Man, classic May 2-4 weekend. It was beautiful yesterday, and it's just blustery and cold today. But you know, here we are. All right, so we've got some grilled corn here. I've got it all cut up, but I've got these pork chops chopped up and just whole, ready to go. We're just gonna start building our plate, and what I'm gonna do with these is just cut them on a really nice angle. And once you cut into them, you can really smell the aroma coming through right away of these, of all the brine and everything like that. All right. Now I got some dirty hands, so just bear with me here. So this corn, we're just gonna end up just like so. Now we got our apple fig jam that we made yesterday. Just gonna put one big quenelle just kind of right there in the center. And because figs are pretty, we're gonna put them right there. We're just gonna angle these guys out. And as you can see, you got a little bit of pink in these chops. And again, like I was saying, it's totally fine to have just a touch of pink. It's gonna taste great. All right, there you have it, friends. So May 2-4 long weekend, we've got some cider brine pork chops, we've got some roasted apple fig jam, some grilled corn, and you know what? A little bit of cider too. So from my kitchen to yours, friends, bon appetit.